Hello, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful edition of a House Wine Happy Hour. Today I have a really special guest. This is Biserno, and Biserno is a Tuscan super duper producer. Like, they are on the rugged coast of Tuscany. They are producing different styles of wine that you're probably not used to seeing coming out of Italy. These wines are concentrated, they're delicious, they are like everything I could want in like a Bordeaux style wine that's ironically not from Bordeaux. So I'm going to be joined by the manager. He's very nice, so we're going to see him right now. If I can get this working properly. And we are waiting for him to join us. Hello.
Hi. Hello. Nice to meet you. Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you so much for joining me. Now, where in the world are you coming from right now?
I'm in Tuscany. I'm here very close to the estate. I'm in Bolgheri, which is the neighboring village of Bibona,
Yes.
where we produce the wines. We have a fabulous weather despite the lockdown, and we're having a beautiful spring. So we're very lucky with that.
That is really fantastic. And how are you doing in all of this?
Well, listen, we can't complain so far. I mean, it's definitely a very challenging moment for everyone, but we've been lucky so far. So hopefully this will continue. Thank God we work in a great industry where we produce something very enjoyable, such as wine. So we maybe had a little bit more time to enjoy that. And like as I said earlier, we've been very lucky with the weather. So we were able to continue working in the vineyards, and so far so good. So we're very, very happy with that.
That is fantastic. If you don't mind, maybe going into a little bit of history about
Sure.
Biserno, how it was started, who's the famous guy that started Biserno.
Well, this is it's actually a quite recent estate because
Yes.
the estate started approximately at the beginning of the years 2000. The founding fathers of the estate are my two uncles, the two brothers, Piero and Lodovico Antinori, who are both very well known for very different reasons. Piero Antinori, who runs and owns the Marchesi Antinori winery, and Lodovico, who's the younger brother of Piero, who, after working with his brother, started his own winery. And soon after separating from that project that he started and had a tremendous success, he decided to start another project, but again with his brother. So it was a comeback to working together. And this was at the beginning of the years 2000. So just to go a little bit in history, the estate, Bolgheri is really a small area that gained success throughout the years because of two or three wineries. And now everybody seems to know where Bolgheri is, and there are more producers, but it's actually a small niche. But when Lodovico Antinori started prospecting for this new project, he saw Bibona as an option, which is it's the next door village. It's just the village next door on the northern part of Bolgheri. And he, instead of looking at an appellation, he was really looking for terroir. I mean, we all know that great wines come from great terroirs, and he saw in this estate great potential.
That is really fantastic. Now, I know there's different sections of the area that you're in. Can you tell people what part you guys are in? The north, the south, the more developed, the less developed?
Well, basically, just to give you a prospect of what the area looks like for the ones that haven't been here, we have some hills behind that go basically, I don't know exactly how many kilometers, but I would say approximately 30 kilometers from north to south. And these hills protect us. And what we have in front from these hills is the sea, the Mediterranean Sea. So it's quite of a unique microclimate that we have. And this is to be said about Bibona and Bolgheri, because these hills at one point they get closer to the sea or they go further away from the sea, and that microclimate fades away. Um, as far as Biserno concerns, we have two realities, two estates. We have one estate which is Tenuta di Biserno, which is approximately 40 hectares. In acres, I think it's just about the double, so about 80 acres. Mostly planted with Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Petit Verdot. And then we have a second estate, which is a bit further down, closer to the sea, in sandier soils, where we have the same varieties, but also Syrah. And that estate, which is called Campo di Sasso, is primarily used to produce Insolio, which is our entry-level wine, so to speak, or business card, as I like to call it. That's it. That's it. And I'm particularly attached to this wine for several reasons. First of all, because it was the second vintage that we produced. It was 2004, and I was in charge of introducing it to the U.S. market. So it was my first real on the sidewalk, as you can say, experience selling wine. 2000 and it was in 2005, the 2004 vintage, and it was challenging years. I don't know if you guys remember, but it was just after some crisis with the stock market, the internet bubble, and it was challenging, you know. New York City, I remember going to New York City and trying to sell the wine and going to the retailers and so on. But people liked it, you know, it had no name. It doesn't carry the name Antinori on it, or, you know, it just had a nice little wild boar. But people liked the style, and it was already a very enthusiastic moment for me. I did 21 states and traveling all around the United States, and it was a great experience. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, traveling in the United States is interesting because it's a huge country and
Huge.
it's like kind of diverse, and I don't think people realize that.
No, that's true. Going from Minnesota to South Carolina, I remember even the language was different.
Yeah, they sound completely different. Completely different. Okay, so I was looking at the wine label and I couldn't help but notice the wild boars. What is the
Yes.
significance of the wild boars on the wine label?
Well, the wild boar is, of course, is an animal, but it's really part of our history, culture, and tradition here. I mean, traditionally, there was not much in this area. We're talking about hundreds of years ago, but hunting or, you know, living with a large amount of wild boars in the area is something that we're quite used to. So it's really part of our surroundings. In a matter of fact, last year, some people from Co-Brand, our importer in the United States, came to visit us and were asking if the wild boar, how present they were. And on the way back to the hotel, a bunch of them crossed my car. And I was just finishing the sentence, just telling them, you know, we're filled with wild boars.
Now, are they destructive to the vines at all?
Well, let's say that in the harvest season, they may, just because they're hungry and they have the small ones, and they just try to get into vineyards. But we have actually nice systems to keep them away. Well, we have fencing clearly, but they're actually quite tough. They can go beyond the fencing. But they have something that is quite funny, is that they seem not to like so much noise. They're very afraid of people. So we figured that by putting radios left and right in the vineyards, they think there are people there and they don't come in. So,
I love that.
well, and the only radio station that actually goes on and on and on, 24 hours a day, is the Catholic Radio Maria, which is basically prayers and all night long. So they're listening to Catholic Church all night, the poor wild boys, and they go away.
What good Christian boars you have.
Very, very.
Oh my God, that's so funny. That is so funny. Now let's say someone was to purchase this particular wine. What can they expect to enjoy from this wine?
I think it's a very juicy wine. I like the freshness of the wine as well. It has a spice because 35% of the blend is Syrah, and I think it's a very important component of this wine because it gives it a certain spice to it. But at the same time, it needs to be fruit forward, juicy, easy. It needs to be versatile. We expect this wine in the making of pleasing everyone from having a dish of pasta to some barbecue, but even if you want to have some grilled tuna as well, it needs to be versatile. We decided this blend because of that. It needs to be fruit forward, easygoing, I think in America is a no-brainer. Is that correct?
Yeah, a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. It's one of those things that night you don't know what you're going to cook and you want a glass of wine, you pick the Insolio, you shouldn't be disappointed.
I do love these wines. They're concentrated. There's a lot of like flavor. There's a lot of just the tannins are smooth and velvety and well integrated. These are some really like fantastic wine. And this is like kind of like your entry level wine.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's a fantastic value.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's important. Our production is quite limited if you compare to bigger wineries. And this is the only wine that we're able to produce a certain amount of. And therefore, it's important for us to give an impression, to give a style, but also to stimulate the consumer to try the rest of the line.
Right. Okay. So now let's say the consumer has gotten a taste. They're very pleased with your entry level. So now we're going to go to the next level up that I was sent, which is the Il Pino.
Yeah.
So if you want to go ahead and tell us about Il Pino and what's the it's the wild boars again.
See, they're everywhere. I told you. Il Pino, we're moving out of the Campo di Sasso. So again, if for the ones of you that know where we are, we're going further up on the hill, on the hillier side. It's considered to be the second wine of Biserno, but in reality, stylistically, in my opinion, has nothing to be ashamed of the bigger brother that you will be tasting later. It comes partially from the younger vines, but also from vineyards of the Biserno estate that cannot get the concentration, in our opinion, to become Biserno. And throughout the years, these vineyards has established them to become the vineyards for Pinot. Now, Pinot di Biserno, if you compare it to Insolio, but if you compare it also to Biserno, has a little bit more aging in fining in wood than Insolio because it spends approximately a year in wood. 30% of it is new oak, French, and then it's blended in. Also, the two main varieties, as I said, Insolio has a lot of Syrah. In Pinot de Biserno, we have two varieties that dominate, is Cabernet Franc and Petit Verdot. Those are the two varieties that we like to come up front. Again, these vineyards are also worked in a way that the wine can come on the market and with a small, soft tannin and not overly extracted. You have a spice, a typical spice, and you have the fig leaf that is typical of Biserno on it. And it's a great wine that ages very, very well. But it's a fresher version to the Biserno, which we'll be tasting later.
Nice. Okay, so it's a Friday night. I'm on a date with my fiance. We opened this wine. Mm-hmm. What meal choices should we have with this wine?
Well, you have a large variety. Clearly, if I had to choose, I would probably go on some meat or something roasted or even roasted chicken. Anything on the grill is definitely something that would suit. But also, gnocchi alla sorrentina or gnocchi alla romana are very well. Sometimes we also eat at our relay where we host our guests. We use it also with vitel tonné, which is veal with tuna sort of cream on it. Like it's another, our wines, because of the soft tannins and the extraction, are again quite versatile. There's not definitely one meal. Clearly, there are some meals that are more suited, but there's nothing that I could say, oh, that's a no-go. You shouldn't drink our wine with that.
Right. Now, I was reading a little bit about the estate. Like, let's say we're now able to travel again. Oh, and I hope that happens soon.
I'm sure.
I know. What can people expect to find if they were to come and visit the estate?
Well, we have a very nice farmhouse that was all rebuilt and refurnished. We call it the Relay. We have 4 rooms, and you're in the middle of the vineyards. The magic of the estate, I mean, the vines grow in beautiful places. We all know that for some strange reason. Good wines are in good, nice places. But the particularity of Biserno is the fact that we are surrounded by forest. It's quite hilly, and we have this beautiful house in the middle of these vineyards. It's very quiet. You have a beautiful view on the sea and this constant little breeze, which helps us very much in the summertime when it gets very hot. It's just if you like nature, it's very close to nature. And there's something magical. I cannot say. You've got the cicadas. Is that how you call them? The little insects that, yeah, they make the word. The noise. In the summertime, you've got these pine trees. You've got these cypress. And from our state, you can see 3 little villages that are charming. You have Casale Marittimo, you have Bibona, and Castagneto Carducci, which is the bigger town for Bolgheri. It's quite a special place. I mean, you need to like nature and Tuscany. It's a different type of Tuscany. If you know Chianti, the coastal Tuscany is very different. The Upper Maremma, where we are based, is very different.
That's fantastic. I love
I hope
that.
you'll come and visit us.
I plan on doing a whole Italian tour once we're allowed to travel again safely.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Very looking forward.
Now, I was, again, doing a little research, and I noticed that there's another wine that was made. I think it's called Sof.
Oh, yes, that's the rosé.
Yeah.
You, you know, as I said, the company, the estate is quite young, and we're still trying. I believe it was in 2015, we decided to try to make a rosé. Because if you think about it, historically, Tuscany did not produce great Cabernets. We're going back to Sassicaia and so on. I mean, Bolgheri's history is 25, 30 years old, more or less. And the same thing with rosé. The idea was, why don't we try to make a rosé similar to the southern France, the one from Provence, but with our own identity. And the same thing was done, back in the years with, as you said earlier, with the Bordeaux style wines that are not from Bordeaux. That was the idea, but just testing and to see. And also it was to give an opportunity and an option to our fans and our clients in the summertime when it gets very hot. And it's nice to have a nice rosé to start.
Definitely. I was reading that somebody's daughter was requesting that you guys make a rosé.
Well, the idea is my cousin Sofia, she's the daughter of Lodovico, who lives in the UK, where rosé is very popular. And I wasn't there that day, but I think she mentioned something to her father saying that why don't we make a rosé? And I think he was kind of offended at the beginning because, making a rosé is not really You're not going to win the best wine of the wine spectator by making a rosé, but then he gave it a second thought, and he thought, why not? Why don't we give it a shot? And already the first vintage, we have a very talented team with a winemaker who's been here since the beginning and the vineyard manager. And they started working at this plot of vineyard that is used to make insolio, leaving more leaves on and to maintain a little bit more freshness, a little bit more acidity, and also some degrees of alcohol less. And we give it a shot. I think we picked around the 15th of August, which is very, very early for us. We normally
Right.
start picking for reds in first week of September. And the first vintage was already very nice. It was already the same blend as it is today. It's 50% Syrah, 50% Cabernet Franc. We improved the techniques, and I think the last two vintages, it's been a great wine. It's actually a wine that improves with time, which is not the idea of a rosé, but if you produce a rosé with the intention
No,
of making
it's
a wine and
untypical.
not by taking some juice out, it actually is a very pleasant wine.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to try it, but I thought the little tiny backstory
Oh,
behind it was kind of adorable because I could
it's
almost see
funny.
like a younger
We're
daughter
still
being like,
testing. We're still trying to find out to figure out what is the best.
"Oh no, I think your Wi-Fi is. Are you still there? Oh, okay, great.
I don't know
Yeah,
how.
okay.
Can you? Is the connection good?
I can hear you now. Yes,
Hold on a second. Let me see.
we're having slight
Oh, okay,
technical
perfect.
difficulties, but I think
Yeah,
we're
no, it
back.
was funny. It was funny, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. You need to have fun, and you need to stimulate your teams. And of course, we've been making these wines for all these years. We also started making a white wine this year, just because we in one of the vineyards that we use for Insolio, the neighboring vineyard that was next to it was given up by the proprietor, and we just give it a shot, and we made a small amount of bottles just for the fun and to see and improve.
Interesting. What type of white wine grapes did you use?
A Vermentino, which is a typical grape variety from our area, and Viognier.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
That sounds like a nice blend.
Yep. Yeah, it fits well because Vermentino is very floral, a very easy, lean wine. The Viognier gives a little bit of mid palate, maybe a bit of flesh, and also nice aromas and a certain sweetness that you cannot sense. But it doesn't taste sweet, but you need a certain sweetness in the end. Otherwise, white wines can finish slightly metallic,
Right.
and which isn't the case. So it's fun. But it was the first vintage. We'll see. We'll try to improve.
Who knows what the future holds? It's all about having fun and experimenting and
It's true.
just have fun with it.
Yep. It's true. We're very lucky. It's a passionate. It's a business about passion. The founders of this estate didn't do it because they needed another estate. They really did it because it was a nice project to work all together. Synergy of a family working. It's passion, and it also is a good excuse to all meet behind a glass of wine and talk about it and how we can improve it and so on and so on.
Yeah,
And it's
that's
fun.
amazing. All right, I want to get to the star of the show now, which is this big boy here.
Yes, yes. And it's one of my favorite vintages. Is that 13? Is that correct?
Yes, that is 13.
I love the vintage, and I think it drinks very, very well now.
Oh, it's so like concentrated. Is there Cabernet Franc in this?
Yes, absolutely. It
Yeah.
should be. Uh, Biserno as a blend is normally, depending on the vintages, clearly, but it's a third of Cabernet Franc, a third of Merlot, a third of Cabernet Sauvignon, and then 5% approximately of Petit Verdot, which is a very, very Bordeaux, maybe right bank blend.
Yes. Honestly, if I were to blind this, I would think it's a wine from Bordeaux.
Sometimes I lose you. Here, are you back?
Oh, sorry, I'm here.
No, no, no. It's probably my connection. Probably sometimes I lose you.
Yeah, I've noticed with like the transatlantic connections, sometimes it like breaks up a little bit, but it always
Mhm.
kind of comes back around.
Good.
Yeah.
No, 13, we didn't talk about vintages in general. No, we are very lucky, and I shouldn't say that to jinx ourselves for this year, but generally we are quite lucky with the seasons. 13 was a warm vintage, but I like it because it actually gives, as you said, a strong personality of Cabernet Franc. So you can really sense that ashes, those bell pepper greenness, but without having the tannins that are green. So I
Right.
like to have that twist on the nose, and at the same time, there's something quenching, there's something juicy into the wine that I like, and all of this is very elegant at the same time. So it's a wine, it's an important wine, it's definitely a wine that will age. Uh, but it has all these complexities and layers, different layers already now after only 7 years.
Yeah. What do you think the aging potential is on a wine like this? Like how long could I leave it in cellar?
Well, it really depends on the taste of your taste. I mean, if you like uh, fruit, then you probably, after 10 years, you probably need to check once in a while. But if you don't mind the wines to evolve into the secondary notes, then 15, 20 years, I mean, it's hard to say, but you, look, on difficult vintages, I would say you need to drink them younger. So on vintages that are a bit challenging, maybe 2010, 2002, which we didn't produce because we weren't there yet, but in general, in our area, 2014 could be vintages that need to be drank young. The rest, they're definitely wines that once they are balanced, they will age for a very, very long time. I mean, Cabernet-based wines, for me, at least 10 years, at least. But it's a question of taste again.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's drinking phenomenal right
Thank you.
now, to be honest. But yeah, I think it could age a little bit longer. Definitely,
Mm. I
definitely.
mean, I didn't want to copy you, but we had the 2013 Pinot tonight,
Yes,
and it comes from less complex, less concentrated grapes, but it's still on the fruit. It still has a verve.
yes. Sorry, I'm hitting. I just didn't want to. I was putting the bottle down. I didn't want to
No,
like
worries.
break my glassware.
No, 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 don't do that. Glassware
Yes,
is very important for wine
yes.
tasting.
But yeah, no, it's a really fantastic wine. Now, what are the future plans for Biserno?
Well, we are still trying to get the word out and to have people get to know the estate. It's a fairly small production, so we cannot please everyone. It may sound ridiculous, but it is a fact. In a matter of fact, once a very famous French producer from Bordeaux asked me how many bottles we produced, and I told him the full amount, including in Solio, and he said, "Oh, then you focus in 5 countries." I said, "No, we are actually distributed in more than 40 countries." He said, "But that's a drop of water in the ocean. I mean, nobody will know about you." Um, we're still working and trying as I said, get the word out and get the people to know the wines. We are traveling and going around and doing winemaker dinners and so on. We have some countries where the wine is considered an icon wine, and we have hard time keeping up with the demand. And in other countries, we're still nowhere. So we're still working on that. The production will never increase. The the property is the size in which it is. So we will produce 30,000 bottles of Biserno for the years to come, and between 100 and 120,000 bottles of Pinot, and we'll try to improve it year after year.
Yeah, I would say that's still a really good production amount for, you know what I'm considering your size. Like, I think that's a good amount to produce.
It is. But if you consider, for instance, that a first growth of Bordeaux, let's say Mouton Rothschild, produces only Mouton, I believe, I'm not sure, but 350,000 bottles of it.
Right.
And you know, we are 10% of that, you know, which is it's hard to keep up with the demand.
Right. I mean, I think you guys are kind of in a class of your own, though. I wouldn't necessarily compare you to Bordeaux. I think you are your own thing.
Yeah, I agree. I totally
Yeah,
agree.
definitely.
I totally agree. And also, you know, stylistically and so on, but it's very comparable to Bordeaux in a way that
Yes.
the way we're structured. We have two wines and that's it, and then an entry level wine. So
Yes, totally. Totally. Do you have any closing remarks for our lovely audience?
no, I think, you know, it's not something that you will find easily because the United States are very large, and as I said, we don't have much wine, and despite our importers' demand, we cannot provide the full amount that they wish to have. But look for it, try the wines. I hope you'll enjoy them. They're wines with temperament, with personality. Our goal is to have to maintain elegance, but they're wines with personality. They're not an everyday crowd pleaser. This is not our goal.
No. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with those closing remarks. The wine does have a lot of personality, a lot of depth, a lot of complexity, concentrated wines. And also there's like that Petit Verdot in it, and that Petit Verdot always adds like that extra layer of just like pow, extra punch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so fantastic wines. Thank you for
Thank you.
popping on here at 9:30 p.m. your time.
Oh, no problem. Everybody's at sleep and I'm still awake, so that's fantastic.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well,
No, don't worry. That's perfect.
okay, well,
Well,
great.
thank you very much, Amanda, and I really hope that you'll find the time to come and visit us. And so you can see with your own eyes what we're talking about.
I would absolutely love to when the time is right with everything going on.
Absolutely. Stay safe.
You too as well. Best of
Thank you.
luck. Good evening, and thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye now.
Bye. Isn't he just fantastic? Thank you everyone so much for joining me. If you are interested in purchasing these wines, I will try to track them down on the internet, and I will provide swipe ups in my stories so you can go ahead and purchase the wines if you're interested. I highly recommend it. These wines are just bam. They're just like a lot. They're fantastic wines, and I don't think we should compare them to Bordeaux, although they are very Bordeaux-like. They are truly in a class of their own, so it's definitely something to splurge on a little bit and enjoy. Ah, there we go, co-brand. Thank you, co-brand. They have the retail locator there, so you can support your local wine shops that way. Coming up on Thursday of this week, I am going to be tasting with Dennis Cake Bread, and we will be tasting Mullen Road. So that's Thursday, regular time, 6:30 p.m. Have a great rest of your afternoon. If you're in the East Coast area, enjoy the lovely weather, and I will see you all again on Thursday. Mwah.